The crystal halls of Nexus Prime glowed with soft blue light, as beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting in 1,000 years. Admiral Kwan adjusted his breathing mask and looked around the massive chamber. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in floating chairs that moved gently through the air. The Galactic Council's millennial census was about to begin. Elder Day stood at the center of the hall, his ancient form covered in the flowing robes of the archivists. His people had kept records of every known species for 50,000 years. Today they would count every civilization in the galaxy once again. "Welcome, friends," Elder Day said, his voice reaching every corner of the hall through hidden speakers. "Today we celebrate another 1,000 years of galactic peace and growth." Ambassador Hana smiled from her seat near the front. Her people? The Zelrani had always been peaceful traders. She looked forward to hearing about new worlds and new friends that had joined the galactic community. The counting began slowly. Elder Day read from glowing data tablets that floated around him like dancing butterflies. The Altarian Republic reports 47 worlds with a combined population of 12 billion beings. Counselor Jin nodded proudly from his section. Sector Vorthak Empire continues to grow strong with 63 systems under their protection. Admiral Kwan straightened in his chair, pleased with his people's expansion. Hour after hour, the reports continued. The Kaloran Federation, the Nexari Starfleet, the Hegemony worlds, all were doing well. Their populations had grown. Their territories had expanded. Trade was good between most species. But then something strange happened. Elder Day stopped, reading. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion as he stared at one of the data tablets. He turned it around, shook it gently, then looked at it again. "Is there a problem?" asked Ambassador Hana. Elder Day's voice was quiet when he spoke. "There appears to be a gap in our records." The hall grew silent. In 50,000 years of record-keeping, there had never been a gap. "What kind of gap?" Admiral Kwan demanded. Elder Day touched the data tablet, and a large hologram appeared above the center of the hall. It showed a map of part of the galaxy, with thousands of small lights marking different star systems. "According to our old records, there should be a species here." Elder Day pointed to an area near the edge of the map, but our current scans show nothing. Dr. Minho, a young scientist from the Kaloran worlds, leaned forward in his chair. "What do you mean? Nothing?" "I mean the star system is empty," Elder Day said. "No planets with life, no space stations, no signs that anyone ever lived there." Counselor Jin waved his hand dismissively. "Species go extinct all the time. Perhaps they destroyed themselves in a war." But Elder Day shook his head. "That's just it. Every species leaves traces when they die out, ruins on their planets. Debris in space. Something. But this system shows no signs that anyone ever lived there at all." The hologram zoomed in on the empty system. 8 planets circled a yellow star, but they all looked dead and lifeless. No cities, no orbital platforms, no ships. "What were they called?" asked Captain Sora, a military officer from the Hegemony. Elder Day checked his records again. "They called themselves humans, from a world they named Earth." Ambassador Hana frowned. "I've never heard of them." "Neither have I," said Admiral Kwan. "Are you sure they existed?" Elder Day's confusion was growing. He pulled up more data tablets, reading quickly. Yes, they did exist. Look here. Trade agreements signed 400 years ago. Diplomatic messages from 6 centuries past. Even some exploration reports that mention human colonies. The hologram changed to show documents and records. Ancient text scrolled past, showing agreements and treaties with a species called humanity. But when Elder Day tried to access more recent records, they simply weren't there. Dr. Minho stood up from his chair. "May I see those exploration reports?" Elder Day nodded and sent the data to Dr. Minho's personal viewer. The young scientist read quickly, his eyes growing wider with each line. "This is impossible," Dr. Minho said. "These reports mention human settlements on 7 different worlds. but I've been to 3 of those systems in the past year. They're empty. Empty how? Asked Ambassador Hana. I mean completely empty. No ruins, no traces of ever being lived on. But according to these old reports, millions of humans lived there. The hall erupted in confused chatter. Representatives turned to each other, asking if anyone remembered. Humans. No one did. Elder Day called for quiet. There's more, he said grimly. I've found references to humans in over 3,000 separate documents. Trade records, diplomatic notes, even some cultural exchanges. But all of these records are more than 300 years old. Captain Sora leaned forward. What happened? 300 years ago? That's when the references stop. Elder Day replied. Not gradually, but all at once, as if they simply disappeared. Admiral Quan crossed his arms. This is ridiculous. Species don't just disappear without a trace. Either your records are wrong or this is some kind of mistake in your data system. But Dr. Minho was shaking his head. I don't think it's a mistake. I've studied dozens of extinct civilizations. They all leave something behind. Archaeological, remains, genetic traces, and other species they traded with. Cultural influences. But I can't find any evidence of human influence anywhere in the galaxy. Ambassador Hana felt a chill run through her. You're saying an entire species just vanished? Not just died, but completely erased themselves from history? It appears that way, Elder Day said quietly. The chamber fell silent again. The idea was too strange to believe, yet the evidence was right there in front of them. Counselor Jin tried to restore order. Perhaps we're overthinking this. Civilizations rise and fall. Maybe these humans were smaller than the records suggest. Maybe they never really established themselves properly, but Elder Day was reading more documents. Actually, they appear to have been quite advanced. These records mention human technology that was traded throughout this region of the galaxy, something called gravity manipulation and dimensional folding. Technologies that sound more advanced than most of what we use today. Dr. Minho's excitement was growing. If they had technology that advanced, they should have left even more traces. Advanced species build things that last for thousands of years. Captain Sora's military training made her suspicious. Or maybe they had technology advanced enough to completely remove all traces of themselves. The thought sent another chill through the chamber. A species advanced enough to erase itself completely from the galaxy was either dead or hiding. Elder Day continued, searching through the archives. I'm finding more oddities. Star charts from 500 years ago show different trade routes through the human regions, but current navigation maps show direct routes through the same space, as if the human worlds were never there to block the paths. The trade routes adapted, Ambassador Hana observed, as if the galaxy itself forgot about the humans and healed around their absence. Admiral Quan was getting impatient. This is all very interesting, but what does it matter? If they're gone, we have current problems to deal with. But Dr. Minho was fascinated. Don't you see? This could be the greatest archaeological mystery in galactic history. An entire advanced civilization that somehow removed every trace of itself from existence. The scientific implications alone. Elder Day held up his hand for attention. There's one more thing, he said. I've found a few scattered reports from frontier worlds dating from about 200 years ago. Traders and explorers mentioning strange phenomena, ships appearing and disappearing in empty space, supply drops appearing on worlds facing disasters with no explanation of where they came from. Supply drops? Ambassador Hana asked. Food, medicine, technology, exactly what was needed, appearing without any record of who sent them. Captain, Sora's suspicion deepened. That sounds like a military operation. Coordinated aid drops require significant resources and intelligence gathering. The implications hung heavy in the air. If humans weren't extinct, if they were somehow still out there, what did it mean that they had chosen to disappear so completely? Elder Day closed the data tablets. I believe we need to investigate this mystery further. The complete disappearance of an advanced species is unprecedented in galactic history. Counselor Jin sighed. And what exactly are you proposing? A joint expedition, Elder Day replied. To the former human territories, to find out what really happened to them, and whether they might still be out there somewhere. The vote was close, but curiosity won over caution. The Galactic Council authorized the investigation that would change everything they thought they knew about their galaxy. As the session ended, and representatives began to leave, Dr. Minho remained in his chair, staring at the hologram of the empty star system where Earth should have been. Somewhere out there, an entire species had chosen to vanish completely from the known galaxy. The question was, were they really gone, or were they simply hiding? 3 months after the council meeting, the expedition ship Cosmic Truth moved through space toward the area where humans had once lived. Commander Yoon sat in the captain's chair, watching the stars ahead. His crew came from 6 different species, all volunteers for this strange mission. Dr. Minho worked at his science station, excited about every new scan they completed. The young Kaloran had studied extinct civilizations his whole life, but nothing like this. Captain Sora stood near the weapons station, her military training making her watch for any signs of danger. How much longer until we reach the first human system? Commander Yoon asked. 2 hours, replied the navigation officer. The system they called Alpha Centauri. Dr. Minho looked up from his screens. According to the old records, over 50 million humans lived in that system. 3 planets with major cities, plus mining stations on 12 moons. Captain Sora checked her tactical display. And current long-range scans show? Nothing, Dr. Minho admitted. Empty planets, no structures, no energy signatures. The bridge fell quiet as they considered this. How do 50 million people and their entire civilization simply vanish? When they arrived at Alpha Centauri, the mystery only deepened. The planets were there, exactly where the records said they should be. But they looked like they had never been touched by intelligent life. Take us into orbit around the 3rd planet, Commander Yoon ordered. The one they called New Geneva. And they approached. Dr. Minho's excitement turned to confusion. This doesn't make sense, he muttered, staring at his readings. What's wrong? Asked Commander Yoon. The planet shows signs of terraforming, Dr. Minho explained. The atmosphere has been modified. The soil composition has been adjusted for agriculture. But there are no cities, no roads, no buildings. Captain Sora studied the tactical scans. The terraforming is recent, maybe 200 years old. That matches when the human records stop, Commander Yoon observed. They sent down exploration teams to the planet's surface. The teams found exactly what the orbital scans had shown, a world that had been prepared for human life, but apparently never used. Soil tests showed traces of human-specific modifications. Atmospheric readings indicated changes made for human breathing requirements. It's like they prepared the world and then never moved in, reported the ground team leader. But Dr. Minho found something else. Hidden in a mountain cave, protected from weather and time, he discovered a small facility. Inside were computers, still functional after 200 years. Commander, you need to see this. Dr. Minho's voice came through the communicator when Commander Yoon and Captain Sora arrived at the cave. Dr. Minho was staring at a holographic display showing complex data streams. What is it? Commander Yoon asked. It's a monitoring station, Dr. Minho replied. These computers have been watching the galaxy for the past 2 centuries. Look at these data files. The display showed surveillance records from across the galaxy. Political movements, trade routes, military buildups, even natural disasters, all carefully cataloged and analyzed. Captain Sora stepped closer to the display. This is intelligence gathering on a massive scale. Who has the resources to monitor the entire galaxy like this? Dr. Minho pulled up another file. Look at this. It's labeled Intervention Log. The file contained hundreds of entries, food shipments that had appeared mysteriously on worlds facing famine, medical supplies that had materialized during plague outbreaks, technical specifications that had somehow reached scientists working on critical projects. They've been helping, Dr. Minho said in amazement. The humans didn't disappear. They've been secretly helping other species for 200 years. Commander Yoon frowned. But why hide? Why not just trade and communicate normally? The answer came in another file Dr. Minho found, a message labeled Philosophical Foundation. We have watched civilizations rise and fall, Dr. Minho read aloud. We have seen species destroy themselves through greed, hatred, and war. We choose a different path. We will help from the shadows, guide without ruling, protect without controlling. Captain Sora crossed her arms. That's a nice philosophy, but it doesn't explain how they managed to erase all traces of their existence. Dr. Minho continued searching through the files. He found technical specifications that made his eyes widen. Dimensional folding technology that could hide entire planets. Matter manipulation systems that could disassemble structures at the molecular level. Consciousness transfer networks that allowed instant communication across any distance. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, Dr. Minho whispered. They could hide entire star systems if they wanted to. Commander Yoon studied the technical readouts. If they're this advanced, why did they choose to hide instead of leading the galaxy? The answer came in a historical file that Dr. Minho accessed next. It contained records of early human contact with galactic civilization, dating back 1,000 years. The records showed humans trying to participate in galactic politics. They had joined trade agreements, formed diplomatic relationships, even fought alongside other species in several wars. But over time they had grown disillusioned. Look at this. Dr. Minho pointed to a section of the file. They tried to prevent 3 different galactic wars. Each time, other species ignored their warnings. Millions died in conflicts that could have been avoided. Captain Sora read over his shoulder. So they gave up on open cooperation. Not gave up, Commander Yoon corrected. They found a better way. If they couldn't prevent wars through diplomacy, maybe they could prevent them through secret intervention. The monitoring station's files contained evidence of exactly that. Over the past 2 centuries, dozens of potential conflicts had been quietly diffused. Critical intelligence had appeared, in the right hands at the right time. Resources had materialized where they were needed most. All without any trace of where the help had come from. Dr. Minho accessed another system and found star charts that made his breath catch. Commander, look at this. The charts showed the galaxy as humans saw it, not just the known systems that appeared on standard maps, but thousands of hidden locations, space stations concealed in asteroid fields, colonies built inside artificial dimensions, entire worlds that existed in the spaces between normal space. They haven't been hiding, Dr. Minho said in amazement. They've built a parallel civilization, a shadow galaxy existing alongside ours. Captain Sora pointed to clusters of symbols on the human star charts. These markers indicate major installations. There are hundreds of them. Commander Yoon studied the display. If this is accurate, human civilization is far larger than it ever was when they were visible. They haven't declined. They've grown. Dr. Minho found one more file that changed everything. It was labeled Current Operations and was updated just hours before their arrival. They know we're here, he said quietly. This file contains complete information about our expedition, our ship specifications, crew profiles, even copies of our mission orders. Captain Sora's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon. They've been watching us. Not just watching, Commander Yoon realized. Deciding. Look at the file timestamp. This was accessed after we entered the system. As if summoned by their discovery, a new holographic display activated. A human face appeared, middle-aged, calm, with kind eyes. The figure spoke in accented galactic standard. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Council, the human said. I am Director Hyun, current administrator of this monitoring station. We have been expecting you. Dr. Minho stepped forward. You're really human? Director Hyun smiled. Very much so. And you are Dr. Minho of the Kaloran Federation, Commander Yoon of the Nixari Starfleet, and Captain Sora of the Hegemony. We know why you've come. Do you? Captain Sora challenged. Because we're not even sure ourselves anymore. You came to solve a mystery, Director Hyun replied. The mystery of where humanity went. But the real question isn't where we went. It's what we became. Commander Yoon leaned forward. What did you become? Gardeners, Director Hyun said simply. Protectors, Guides. We discovered that true strength isn't in conquering or ruling others. It's in helping them become their best selves. Dr. Minho couldn't contain his excitement. The hidden installations, the shadow civilization, how big is it? Director Hyun's expression became serious. Large enough to matter, hidden enough to avoid the mistakes that have plagued galactic civilization for millennia. We learned that sometimes the best way to help is to remain unseen. Captain Sora wasn't satisfied. If you're so advanced, why reveal yourselves now? Why let us find this place? Because, Director Hyun replied, something is coming that will require all of us to work together. Something that threatens not just individual species, but the very fabric of space itself. The hologram flickered and changed, showing the edge of the galaxy. Dark shapes moved between the stars, consuming everything in their path. The Void Devourers, Director Hyun said grimly. They consume matter itself, leaving nothing behind. They're still far away, but they're coming, and for the first time in 3 centuries, humanity must decide whether to remain hidden or step forward. Commander Yoon stared at the approaching threat. How long do we have? Perhaps 50 years, Director Hyun replied. Maybe less. The galaxy must be prepared, and preparation requires unity. Director Hyun's hologram gestured to the cave entrance. If you truly wish to understand what humanity has become, you must see our realm with your own eyes. Will you come with me? Commander Yoon looked at his team. Dr. Minho nodded eagerly, while Captain Sora remained cautious but curious. Where exactly are you taking us? To Haven's Gate, Director Hyun replied. Our primary border station between your galaxy and ours. Captain Sora frowned. Between galaxies? We're still in the Milky Way. Director Hyun smiled. Not between different galaxies, Captain. Between different layers of the same galaxy. Follow me. They left the cave and returned to their ship. Director. Hyun's image appeared on the bridge, guiding them to a specific point in empty space. Stop here, he instructed when they reached coordinates that showed nothing on their sensors. Dr. Minho checked his instruments twice. There's nothing here. Empty space. Is there? Director Hyun asked. Activate your dimensional scanners, Commander. Yoon hesitated, then nodded to his science officer. The dimensional scanners were experimental technology, barely functional on most ships. When the scanners came online, the empty space around them exploded with activity. Massive structures appeared on their screens, space stations, ships and installations that had been invisible moments before. Welcome, Director Hyun said, to the Quiet Realm. The largest structure was Haven's Gate itself, a space station that dwarfed anything in the known galaxy. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers, with docking bays that could hold entire fleets. Gardens and living areas were visible through transparent walls, showing a population in the millions. How is this possible? Dr. Minho whispered. Dimensional folding, Director Hyun explained as their ship was guided toward a docking bay. We learned to build in the spaces between normal space, hidden, but not gone. As they docked, Commander Yoon saw human workers moving about the station. They looked normal, exactly like the humans described in the old records. But their technology was beyond anything he had imagined. A young woman met them at the airlock. She wore simple clothes but carried devices that Commander Yoon didn't recognize. I'm Engineer Nara, she said with a friendly smile. Director Hyun asked me to give you a tour of our facilities. The first thing that struck them was how normal everything seemed. Humans walked through corridors, worked at control stations, and talked with each other, just like any other species. But the technology around them was incredible. This corridor, Engineer Nara explained, connects to 17 different installations across the galaxy. Step through that arch and you'll be on a station near the galactic core. Step through this one and you'll be in a facility orbiting the edge worlds. Dr. Minho stared at the arches, which looked like simple doorways. Instant travel across the galaxy? Faster than instant, Engineer Nara replied. The network exists outside normal space-time. Distance has no meaning here. Captain Sora watched humans moving through the arches as if they were taking a walk to the next room. How many installations do you have? Currently active? About 12,000 major stations and 40,000 smaller outposts, Engineer Nara said casually. The numbers made Commander Yoon dizzy. 12,000? That's larger than all known galactic civilization combined. We've had 3 centuries to build, Engineer Nara pointed out. And we build efficiently. She led them to an observation deck that overlooked one of the station's construction bays. Inside, they could see something impossible happening. Raw materials were flowing through the air like liquid, then suddenly forming into complex machinery. Matter compilation, Engineer Nara explained. We can build anything we need from basic elements. A city can be constructed in days. A ship, in hours. Dr. Minho pressed against the viewing window, watching in amazement. You're building everything from scratch, from atoms. It's more efficient than traditional manufacturing, Engineer Nara replied. Less waste, faster construction, and we can build in places where normal methods wouldn't work. They moved to another section where Engineer Nara showed them something even more remarkable. In a chamber filled with swirling energy, entire planets hung suspended like toys. Pocket dimensions, she explained. We create artificial spaces where we can build worlds exactly as we need them. Each of these contains a full-sized planet with millions of inhabitants. Captain Sora counted the floating worlds. There must be hundreds of them. Thousands, Engineer Nara corrected. This is just one storage facility. We have dozens of these chambers throughout the network. The scale was overwhelming. Commander Yoon realized they weren't looking at a hidden species. They were looking at a shadow empire that spanned the entire galaxy. Their next stop was the Intelligence Center, where they met Analyst June. He was a thin young man who seemed to know everything happening in the galaxy at any given moment. Your expedition was detected the moment you left Nexus Prime, Analyst June told them. We've been tracking your progress and preparing for your arrival. Dr. Minho looked at the displays around them, showing real-time information from across the galaxy. You're monitoring everything. Not monitoring, Analyst June corrected. Watching over. There's a difference. A monitor observes passively. A guardian watches and acts when necessary. He showed them files documenting centuries of quiet intervention. Food shipments to worlds facing starvation. Medical supplies during plagues. Technical information shared with scientists on the verge of breakthrough discoveries. The Kaloran cure for the singing death, Analyst June said to Dr. Minho. Your people think Dr. Kellen discovered it through brilliant research. Actually, we gave him the final pieces he needed. Dr. Minho's eyes widened. That cure saved billions of lives. Exactly, Analyst June replied. Dr. Keelan was a good scientist who was very close to the answer. We just helped him take the last step. Captain Sora studied the intervention records. You've been manipulating galactic civilization for centuries. Helping, Analyst June corrected firmly. We never force anyone to do anything. We just make sure good people have the tools they need to do good things. Commander Yoon saw the pattern. The prevented wars, the disasters that were avoided, the famines that ended quickly, that was all you. Not all, Analyst June admitted. But when we saw a situation where a small push in the right direction could save lives, we pushed. Engineer Nara led them deeper into the station, to a section that felt different from the rest. The corridors, here were wider, the ceilings higher. The humans they passed moved with quiet reverence. This is the archive of watching, Engineer Nara explained as they entered a vast chamber lined with countless data storage units. Here we preserve the history and culture of every species in the galaxy. An elderly man approached them. His hair was white, and his eyes held the weight of centuries of knowledge. I am Keeper Tay, he said softly. Welcome to our memory. The archive was beyond anything they had imagined. Complete cultural records of thousands of species, including many, that had gone extinct centuries ago. Art, music, literature, science, all preserved in perfect detail. When the Naltherian civilization fell to the plague wars, Keeper Tay explained, we saved their entire cultural database. Their poetry still exists. Their music still plays. Their children's stories are still told. Dr. Minho wandered through the displays, overwhelmed by the scope of preserved knowledge. You've saved the memory of the galaxy itself. Someone had to, Keeper Tay replied sadly. Civilizations rise and fall, but their beauty shouldn't die with them. They came to a section dedicated to current galactic civilizations. Dr. Minho was shocked to find detailed files about his own people, the Kaelorans. You know more about our culture than we do, he said, reading through centuries of careful observation. We watch because we care, Keeper Tay explained. Each species is unique. Each has something valuable to offer the galaxy. Our job is to make sure that value isn't lost. As their tour continued, Commander Yoon began to understand the true scope of what humanity had become. They weren't just hiding, they were gardening. Nurturing galactic civilization like a master gardener tends a vast forest. Their final stop was the command center, where they met Station Commander Hyun in person. He was exactly as he had appeared in the hologram, calm, intelligent, and carrying the weight of enormous responsibility. What you've seen today is just one station, Commander Hyun told them. We have others throughout the galaxy, all connected by the dimensional network. Together, they form humanity's true civilization. Captain Sora had been quiet during most of the tour, but now she spoke up. Why show us this? You've kept hidden for centuries. Commander Hyun's expression grew serious. Because the time for hiding is almost over. The Void Devourers I showed you earlier, they're not just a distant threat anymore. Our scouts have detected advanced elements already entering our galaxy. The holographic display in the command center showed the galaxy's edge, where dark shapes moved between the stars. Traditional weapons won't work against them, Commander Hyun continued. They exist partially outside normal space, just as we do. Fighting them will require technologies and strategies that most galactic species don't possess. Dr. Minho understood. You need the rest of the galaxy to accept your help. More than that, Commander Hyun replied. The journey deeper into the quiet realm took Commander Yoon's team through dimensional gates that bent space around them. Each step through the network revealed more of humanity's hidden empire. Dr. Minho tried to count the installations they passed but gave up after seeing the 100th major facility. Where are we going now? Captain Sora asked as they walked through another corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The Heart, replied their new guide, a woman named Director Nara who had taken over from Engineer Nara. The central command of our civilization. It's time you met the Human Council. They emerged into a space that defied understanding. It was a sphere so large that weather patterns formed in its atmosphere. Cities floated at different levels, connected by streams of light that carried people and goods. At the center of it all hung a crystal structure that pulsed with gentle energy. Welcome to the heart of the quiet realm, Director Nara said. Population, 47 million humans, plus our AI partners and allied species who chose to join. Us, Commander Yoon stared at the floating cities. Allied species? Not all who seek refuge in shadows are human, Director Nara explained. Over the centuries, members of other species have joined us, usually scientists, philosophers, or those who grew tired of galactic politics. A transport carried them toward the central crystal structure. As they approached, Dr. Minho could see it wasn't just a building. It was alive, growing and changing as they watched. The council chamber is organic, Director Nara explained. It responds to the thoughts and emotions of those inside, helping to facilitate understanding and cooperation. The chamber's entrance opened like a flower blooming. Inside, they found themselves in a circular room where 5 humans sat in chairs that seemed to be made of crystallized light. The woman at the center stood to greet them. She was middle-aged, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. I am Chairwoman Yoon, she said with a warm smile. Welcome to the heart of humanity's new path. The other council members introduced themselves. Advisor, Kwan, no relation to Admiral Kwan they had met earlier. Economic Coordinator Hana, Military Strategist Minho, and Cultural Specialist Sora. Dr. Minho noticed with amusement that several of the names were similar to those of their own expedition. Team, please sit. Chairwoman Yoon gestured to chairs that grew from the floor as she spoke. You have questions. We have answers. Let's help each other understand. Commander Yoon took the offered seat. The scale of what you've built is incredible, but I don't understand why you chose to hide it all. Advisor Kwan leaned forward. Tell me, Commander, how many wars has your galaxy seen in the past century? Commander Yoon thought about it. 7 major conflicts, dozens of smaller ones. And in the century before that? About the same. In our records, Advisor Kwan continued, we track the major wars going back 5,000 years. The pattern never changes. Species grow, they compete for resources, they fight, they make peace, they grow again. The cycle repeats endlessly. Economic. Coordinator Hana pulled up a holographic display showing galactic trade routes. Every war disrupts trade, destroys infrastructure, and sets back scientific progress. We calculated that galactic civilization could be 1,000 years more advanced if the constant warfare stopped. Dr. Minho studied the display. So you chose to work outside the system. We chose to work above the system, Chairwoman Yoon corrected. Like parents watching over children, we guide without controlling. Military strategist Minho activated another display, this one showing potential conflicts that had been prevented over the past century. The Altarian-Vorthak border dispute, 3 years ago. Without intervention, it would have become a war that killed millions. Captain Sora recognized the incident. The peace treaty came together surprisingly quickly. There were rumors of secret negotiations. Not secret, military strategist Minho replied. Hidden. We provided both sides with information that helped them reach a fair agreement. Neither species knew we were involved. Cultural specialist Sora showed them records of scientific breakthroughs that had shaped galactic civilization. The cure for the Red Plague, the development of clean fusion technology, the mathematical proofs that led to modern space travel. In each case, we provided the missing pieces to brilliant scientists who were very close to discovery. Dr. Minho felt a chill of recognition. My own research into extinct civilizations. Some of my best discoveries came from finding data in unlikely places. Cultural specialist Sora smiled. You have a natural talent for archaeology, Dr. Minho. We simply made sure you found the evidence that would help you help others. The revelation was overwhelming. For centuries, humanity had been the invisible hand guiding galactic civilization toward peace and prosperity. But why? Commander Yoon asked. Why take on this responsibility? Chairwoman Yoon's expression grew sad, because we learned what happens when a species focuses only on its own advancement. The chamber's walls shifted, showing images from humanity's early contact with galactic civilization. They had been enthusiastic participants, eager to trade, and explore and make friends among the stars. We tried direct involvement for 3 centuries, Chairwoman Yoon continued. We fought in galactic wars, participated in trade disputes, competed for resources like everyone else, and we watched civilizations destroy themselves repeatedly. The images showed the aftermath of those ancient wars. Dead worlds, extinct species, devastation that took centuries to heal. The breaking point came during the 4th Galactic War, Advisor Kwan said quietly. We tried to negotiate peace between 12 different species. We had solutions that would have benefited everyone, but pride, fear, and greed made compromise impossible. 7 species went extinct in that war, Economic Coordinator Hana added. Billions of beings died fighting over resources that could have been shared. Military strategist Minho showed them battle recordings from that ancient conflict. We had the technology to stop the war by force. Our weapons were advanced enough to disable every military ship in the galaxy. But we didn't use them, Chairwoman Yoon said, because forcing peace through violence isn't really peace. It's just delayed warfare. Cultural specialist Sora picked up the story. Instead, we made a different choice. We decided that true peace could only come from species choosing it for themselves. Our job became helping them make that choice. The chamber walls now showed the development of humanity's shadow civilization, the gradual withdrawal from galactic politics, the construction of hidden installations, the beginning of their secret guardianship. We discovered that influence without visibility is more effective than power with recognition, Chairwoman Yoon explained. When species don't know they're being helped, they feel proud of their own achievements. Pride builds confidence. Confidence leads to better decisions. Dr. Minho was beginning to understand. You let other species think they're solving their own problems. Because they are, Advisor Kwan replied. We just make sure they have the tools they need to succeed. Commander Yoon thought about all the close calls his own people had faced over the years. How many times have you saved civilizations without them knowing? 47 major extinctions prevented, Economic Coordinator Hana replied. 236 wars stopped before they could start. Over 3,000 scientific breakthroughs accelerated by providing key information at the right moment. The numbers were staggering. Humanity had been the galaxy's secret protector for centuries, and no one had known. What about your own people? Captain Sora asked. What do humans get out of this arrangement? Chairwoman Yoon smiled. Purpose, meaning. The knowledge that our existence makes the galaxy a better place. Cultural specialist Sora showed them recordings of human communities throughout the hidden network. People working on research projects, artists creating beautiful works, children playing in gardens that floated in pocket dimensions. We live better lives than most galactic species, cultural specialist Sora explained. No poverty because we can create anything we need from basic matter. No war because we have no neighbors to fight with. No resource scarcity because the entire galaxy's unused resources are available to us. But more importantly, Chairwoman Yoon added, every human knows that their work contributes to something larger than themselves. Whether they're monitoring galactic communications, developing new technologies, or maintaining our hidden installations, everyone knows they're helping to protect billions of lives. Military strategist Minho brought up a new display showing current threats facing the galaxy. Which brings us to why we're revealing ourselves now. The display showed the approaching void devourers in detail. Dark entities that consumed matter itself, leaving empty space behind. They moved through dimensions that most species couldn't even detect. They are not like anything the galaxy has faced before, military strategist Minho explained. They exist, partially outside normal spacetime. Traditional weapons pass right through them. But your dimensional technology can affect them, Commander Yoon guessed. Yes, Chairwoman Yoon replied. Our weapons and defenses operate in the same dimensional spaces the Devourers use. We can fight them effectively. Dr. Minho leaned forward. But you can't fight them alone. Correct, Advisor Kwan said. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Void Whisper and looked at the small blue planet ahead. Earth looked so peaceful from space. White clouds moved slowly over green and brown land. The oceans sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. It was hard to believe this quiet world held such dangerous creatures. Captain, said Minnie, walking up beside him. She held a thick file in her hands. The papers inside contained everything the Galactic Council knew about humans. I have finished reading the reports. These humans are very different from other species we have met. Hyunwoo nodded. He had read the same reports. Other alien races took thousands of years to go from simple tools to space travel. Humans had done it in just a few hundred years. That speed worried the council leaders back on Nexus Prime. Show me the timeline again, Hyunwoo said. Minnie opened her file and pulled out a chart. 200 years ago, humans were still using horses to travel. They had no electricity, no flying machines, nothing advanced. Then look what happened next. She pointed to different marks on the timeline. In just 50 years, they invented cars, planes, and radio. Another 50 years, and they had computers and nuclear weapons. Now they are building rockets that can reach other planets. That is impossible, said Dr. Chang Min, joining their conversation. The old scientist shook his head. No species develops that fast. It goes against all natural laws of cultural growth. But the evidence is right here, Minnie replied. She showed him pictures from Earth, cities full of tall buildings, roads packed with vehicles, satellites floating in space. They went from farming with simple tools to landing on their moon in less than 100 years. Hyunwoo studied the pictures. Human cities looked chaotic compared to other alien worlds. Buildings had different shapes and sizes. Roads went in all directions. Everything seemed random and unplanned, yet somehow it all worked together. There is something else that bothers me, Changmin said. He pulled out another report. Listen to some of their radio signals. They talk about ideas that should be impossible for them to understand. He played a recording from Earth. Human voices spoke about quantum physics, black holes, and time travel. The words they used showed they understood complex science that other species only learned after thousands of years of study. Maybe they are just repeating words without real understanding, Min suggested. No, Changmin shook his head. I have analyzed their mathematics. Their equations are correct. They really do understand these concepts even if they cannot build the technology yet. Engineer So Young called out from her station. Captain, we are approaching the edge of Earth's solar system. Should I activate the stealth field? Yes, full invisibility mode, Hyunwoo ordered. We cannot let the humans detect us. Council orders are clear about that. So Young's fingers moved over her control panel. The quantum field generators hummed to life around the ship. Within seconds, the Void Whisper became completely invisible to all known detection methods. No radar, no telescope, no instrument could find them now. Stealth field is working perfectly, So Young reported. We are now invisible to human technology. The ship moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the outer planets with their many moons. Each world was different, but none showed signs of life like Earth did. The humans had built their civilization on the only living planet in their system. Communications Officer Jae-hyun, are you picking up any signals? Hyunwoo asked. Jae-hyun sat at his station with headphones on. Screens in front of him showed waves of radio signals coming from Earth. Yes, Captain. Thousands of signals. The humans never stop talking to each other. Radio, television, internet, satellite communications. They have more communication traffic than most advanced civilizations. What are they saying? Everything, Jae-hyun replied. News, entertainment, scientific data, personal messages. They share information constantly. I have never seen a species communicate so much. Min-ai looked interested. Most species keep their knowledge secret, especially from other groups on their own planet. Humans seem to do the opposite. Not exactly, Jae-hyun corrected her. They do have secrets, but they also share huge amounts of information freely. Their internet contains more data than our entire council library, and anyone can access most of it. Changmin frowned. That seems dangerous. What if their enemies learn their secrets? That is what makes them so unpredictable, Jae-hyun said. They advance fast because they share knowledge, but they also fight each other because they disagree about everything. The ship moved closer to Earth. Soon they could see the planet clearly without using telescopes. Lights covered the dark side of the world like a glowing web. Cities, roads, and airports created patterns of brightness across the continents. Look at those lights, So Young said with wonder. They use so much energy. Most species only light their cities this much after they achieve faster than light travel. Yet they are still trapped in their own solar system, Hyunwoo observed. They burn through resources like advanced species, but they have not learned to travel between stars yet. Actually, Captain, Changmin said quietly, I am not sure about that anymore. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean? Changmin pulled up data on the main screen. I have been studying their space programs. They are working on several different approaches to leave their solar system. Some involve chemical rockets, others use ion drives or solar sails, but there are also classified projects that seem to involve other methods. What kind of other methods? Min asked. I am not certain. The data is incomplete, but they seem to be experimenting with electromagnetic fields in ways that look familiar to me, almost like early attempts at quantum field manipulation. A cold feeling went through Hyunwoo's chest. Quantum field manipulation was the technology that allowed faster-than-light travel. It had taken the combined knowledge of 12 different alien species over 2,000 years to develop it safely. That is impossible, he said. Humans do not have the mathematics for quantum field theory. Actually, they do, Changmin replied. I checked. Their mathematics are different from ours, but they reach the same conclusions. In some ways, their approach is more elegant than our traditional methods. So Young looked up from her instruments. Captain, I am detecting something. Strange. What is it? The quantum signature of our stealth field is fluctuating. Just tiny amounts, but it should be completely stable. Hyunwoo felt his worry grow stronger. Could it be equipment failure? I do not think so. All systems show normal operation, but something is causing very small changes in our field stability. Could the humans be causing it? Minnie asked. So Young shook her head. They do not have the technology to detect quantum fields, much less interfere with them. It must be something else. But Hyunwoo was not so sure. He looked at Earth spinning slowly below them. The planet looked innocent, but the creatures living on it had surprised the galaxy before. Maybe they were about to do it again. Continue monitoring all systems, he ordered, and keep listening to their communications. I want to know everything about these humans before we make our report to the Council. The Void Whisper settled into orbit around Earth's moon, hidden from all detection. At least, that is what the crew believed. Below them, the blue planet continued its ancient rotation, carrying billions of humans who had no idea they were being watched, or maybe they did know and they were watching back.